From crimes so terrible even death could erase them, to a judge fired because of 4 words in a private message. Starting with Mark Salling, whose arrest exposed a collection so disturbing that federal prosecutors called it one of the worst they'd ever seen. In December 2015, a woman Mark Salling had been involved with went to police. She claimed he shown her disturbing content and tried to involve it in their relationship. On December 29th, the Los Angeles Department Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force arrested him. They seized his computers, hard drives, and USB flash drives. What they found was unimaginable. Federal prosecutors later confirmed more than 50,000 images and videos of child sexual abuse, victims as young as 3 years old. The files had been downloaded over months in 2015, from April through December. On May 27, 2016, a federal grand jury indicted him on 2 counts, receiving and possessing child pornography. Each charge carried a potential sentence of up to 20 years in prison. In October 2017, Salling struck a plea deal. He pleaded guilty to possession of child pornography involving a minor under the age of 12. The recommended sentence was 4 to 7 years in prison, plus permanent registration as a offender, mandatory treatment, and $50,000 in restitution to each victim. He formally entered the plea on December 18, 2017, and sentencing was scheduled for March 7, 2018. That hearing never came. On January 30, 2018, Mark Salling was found dead in a riverbed near Tujunga in Los Angeles. The death was ruled a suicide. His attorney said he had been preparing to accept responsibility, but once he died, the case was dismissed, and because there was no final judgment, the restitution in the plea deal was never paid. Good, he saved everyone the trouble of a trial. Those children will never get justice because he took the coward's way out. But if Salling's crimes destroyed any chance of redemption, Naya Rivera's tragedy became a story about a mother's final act of love. On July 8, 2020, Naya Rivera rented a pontoon boat at Lake Peru with her 4-year-old son, Josie. They went swimming, and she never returned to the boat. Josie was later found alone, asleep on board with an adult-sized life vest left unused on a bench. He told investigators that his mother had helped him back onto the boat, but then disappeared. He said he heard her call for help, and when he looked back, she was gone. Authorities believe the wind and currents pushed the boat away as Rivera struggled in the water. She had enough strength to lift her son to safety, but not enough to save herself. Her body was recovered 5 days later on July 13, 2020. The lake had a long record of drownings before her death, with strong currents, low visibility, and thick underwater vegetation that could trap even experienced swimmers. She saved her son first. That's what a mother does. This lake should have been shut down years ago. How many people have to die? In November 2020, Rivera's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Ventura County, the United Water Conservation District, and Parks and Recreation Management over what happened at Lake Peru. The suit argued that the boat she rented lacked basic safety features, including an anchor, a ladder, and a rope to help swimmers climb back aboard. It also alleged that visitors were not adequately warned about the lake's conditions or its history of drownings. In February 2022, the family reached a settlement. The terms were not made public, but the case underscored a larger point about the risks at Lake Peru and what officials knew about them. But if Rivera's story ended in tragedy, Lea Michele's began with a tweet. On May 29, 2020, Lea Michele posted about George Floyd, writing that he did not deserve what happened to him and that it had to end, adding the hashtag Black Lives Matter. The country was in the middle of nationwide protests. Timelines were filled with solidarity statements, and her tweet looked like many of the other celebrities were sharing that week. 2 days later, Samantha Marie Ware responded publicly to that tweet. "Remember when you made my first television gig a living hell? 'Cause I'll never forget. I believe you told everyone that if you had the opportunity, you would shit in my wig," amongst other traumatic microaggressions that made me question a career in Hollywood. After that, more people began to speak. Heather Morris, who played Brittany, tweeted on June 3rd, "Was she unpleasant to work with? Very much so. For Lea to treat others with the disrespect that she did for as long as she did, I believe she should be called out." Later, on a podcast, Morris went further. "We absolutely could have stepped up and gone to the Fox execs and said how we felt about the situation, and nobody really did. I think many people were very scared." Amber Riley didn't name Michele directly, but during an Instagram Live, she made the power dynamic clear. "The stories I'm reading about how white women are using their privilege and the fact that they are not fireable. They know that they are not fireable, and they use that privilege to terrorize their counterparts." She added she'd received messages from a lot of black actors and actresses describing the same treatment, being terrorized by the white girls that are the leads of the show. Alex Newell amplified Ware's allegations with gifs. Dabier Snell added that Michele wouldn't let him sit at a table with the rest of the cast during filming. By June 3rd, HelloFresh had dropped Michele as a brand partner, stating they were disheartened and disappointed and did not condone racism or discrimination of any kind. Michele posted an apology the same day. While I don't remember ever making this specific statement, and I have never judged others by their background or color of their skin, that's not really the point. What matters is that I clearly acted in ways which hurt other people. She blamed it on either my privileged position and perspective that caused me to be perceived as insensitive or just my immaturity and me just being unnecessarily difficult. She doesn't even remember saying it. That's how little black women mattered to her. An apology where you don't remember what you did isn't an apology, it's PR. In 2022, during Press for Funny Girl, Michele tried again. I have an edge to me. I work really hard. I leave no room for mistakes. That level of perfectionism left me with a lot of blind spots. She called it a period of intense reflection and claimed she did a lot of personal reach-outs, but none of her former castmates confirmed receiving those reach-outs publicly. The damage was permanent. Michele still works, but her reputation never recovered, and the cast she terrorized made sure the world knew exactly who she was. But if Michele's downfall was about workplace cruelty, Cory Monteith's death was about a disease that doesn't care how loved you are. On July 6, 2013, Cory Monteith checked into the Fairmont Pacific Rim Hotel in Vancouver, just another weekend trip home. On July 12th, he was out with friends. Security cameras caught him returning to his room alone around 2:15 a.m. By noon the next day, when he missed checkout, hotel staff went to check. They found him unresponsive. The British Columbia coroner's report confirmed what everyone feared, a tragic case of mixed drug toxicity involving intravenous substance use combined with alcohol. What made the death even more heartbreaking was the timeline. Monteith had completed a rehab program just months earlier in March and April of 2013. He'd been open about his addiction since his teenage years, describing himself as being on a very dark path before getting help. He'd spoken about it in interviews, at events, trying to use his story to help others. But what often puts recovering addicts back in danger is tolerance, something the coroner's report made painfully clear. After a period of abstinence, a drug that was previously tolerated may become fatal. Monteith's body had reset. The amount that once just got him high now stopped his heart. Rehab had saved his life temporarily, but it had also made his relapse lethal. Police found evidence of drug use in the room, including a spoon with residue and a hypodermic needle. Bottles and glasses were scattered around. Hotel footage showed him entering alone, and there was no indication that anyone else had been with him. It happened behind a closed door, the result of a struggle he had been living with for years, and it ended in a way that couldn't be reversed. Director Josh C. Waller, who worked with Monteith shortly before his death, said, "I never would have suspected anything was wrong. That's the cruelty of addiction. It hides even from the people trying hardest to help. This is why addiction is so terrifying. You can do everything right and still lose. He had every resource available and still relapsed. That tells you how powerful this disease is." Later, Ryan Murphy looked back on Glee and said something that stuck. What started as this bright, joyful show about outsiders finding each other slowly became defined by loss. But if Monteith's battle was with addiction, Blake Jenner's was with the truth about what happened behind closed doors. In November 2019, Melissa Benoist uploaded a 14-minute video to Instagram. She never said his name, but she didn't have to. The timeline filled in the blanks. She described being pinned down and slapped, punched until she couldn't catch her breath. And then there was the iPhone. During an argument, her partner threw his phone at her face. It tore her iris, caused permanent vision impairment, and broke her nose. When she went to the hospital, she lied, said she tripped and hit her head on a potted plant. Blake Jenner, her former Glee co-star and ex-husband, didn't respond right away. Nearly a year later, in October 2020, he released a statement saying he took full responsibility and accountability for the hurt he caused emotionally, mentally, and physically. But he didn't stop there. When Blake Jenner finally responded, he said the relationship had been volatile on both sides. He claimed there had been physical fights initiated by her too, that she scratched and hit him, that one incident left him with a broken nose. He described a moment in the shower that he said caused him serious injury. He also said she was jealous of female co-stars and pressured him to turn down work. As for the phone, he said he threw it during an argument without aiming it at her, calling what happened an accident. He's trying to rewrite history. You don't aimlessly throw a phone hard enough to tear someone's iris. If she hit him too, then why are we only believing one side? The couple had been in therapy together during their marriage, which lasted from 2015 to 2017. But therapy doesn't fix violence. It just gives both people new vocabulary to describe it. But if Jenner's downfall came from what he admitted in writing, Matthew Morrison's came from what he typed in a DM. In May 2022, Matthew Morrison was announced as a judge on season 17 of So You Think You Can Dance. The show premiered on May 18th. Within weeks, he was out. Fox put out a short statement saying he hadn't followed competition production protocols. It was the kind of phrasing that sounds official but doesn't really explain anything. Soon after, people reported that Morrison had sent flirty direct messages to a female contestant. There were no allegations of physical contact or secret meetings, but the messages made her uncomfortable enough to raise it with producers. The network acted quickly, and his time on the show was over almost as soon as it began. He literally couldn't help himself. Even as a judge, he had to cross a line. They said no physical contact happened. Why are we acting like he committed a crime? On June 2nd, Morrison posted a video addressing the situation. He didn't apologize. Instead, he read aloud what he said was the message in question. "Hey, it's Matthew. If you don't mind, would love to get your number and talk you through some things." He said they shared mutual friends and that he was simply trying to offer guidance. He called the reporting blatantly untrue and insisted he had nothing to hide. But the issue wasn't just the wording of one message. She was a contestant on a competition he was judging. That dynamic carries weight whether anyone names it or not, and his response never really engaged with that. Morrison has been married to Raay Puente since 2014. The controversy didn't wreck his marriage, but it ended any return to reality TV judging. For someone who spent years playing a teacher on Glee, the irony wasn't lost on people. By the time Glee ended, its legacy had been rewritten, not by the stories it told, but by the people who told them. They were talking about arrests, lawsuits, addiction, and loss. The drama off-screen started to overshadow what happened on screen. In the end, that became part of the show's legacy too.